With U.S. support for Saudi Arabia's war on Yemen in question, the team here thought now would be a good time to examine the root of Washington and Riyadh's special relationship. Producer Kay Pritzker is here to discuss exactly that history. You were so popular earlier in the week, Kay, that we just had to bring you back. This relationship kicks off in 1931. That's when the United States formally recognized Saudi Arabia and established diplomatic relations. What was behind that decision?
Yeah, so in 1931, the Saudi ruling class was looking for international recognition, and they struck a deal with the United States. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil was given the right to explore Dhahran's oil fields in exchange for the creation of U.S. Saudi diplomatic ties. Fast forward to 1943, the relationship expands when Italy bombs Saudi Arabia, and Saudi kind of realizes they don't have a military to defend itself, and then FDR says the defense of Saudi Arabia is vital to the defense of the United States. It's an interesting statement, but if you take the U.S.'s interest in Saudi's oil into account, it makes a lot of sense. And then in 1951, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers creates its first military installment in Saudi Arabia.
And then we fast forward a few decades to 1971, which saw the collapse of the international gold standard. Why was this development crucial to the U.S.-Saudi relationship?
So in 1944, the Bretton Woods system was established, and this was the international gold standard being turned into an international dollar gold standard. So the international community decided it was easier to transact in U.S. dollars, so they equated dollars to gold by pricing an ounce of gold at $35 per ounce. And this peg was up to the U.S. to maintain, and it was done on the honor system. The U.S. violated this exchange rate by printing more dollars than they had in gold. They were essentially printing receipts for gold that they didn't have, and the international community caught on to this. And when they tried to get their gold back, the U.S. President Nixon, on August 15th, 1971, suspended the convertibility of gold into dollars. So what happened is, before 1971, all the countries in the world needed dollars on hand because that represented their gold reserves. After 1971, they were just holding on to paper. So the U.S., these countries didn't need the U.S. dollar anymore. So the U.S. was looking for a way to make the international community dependent on the dollar again. So the U.S. was looking for a way to make the international community dependent on the dollar again. So the U.S. was looking for a way to make the international community dependent on the dollar again. And they found that reason in 1973 when this oil crisis began. So in 1973, the Yom Kippur War starts, and the United States supports Israel, as it usually does, and Saudi Arabia, being an Arab country, supports the Palestinians. And in order to retaliate against the U.S., they create this oil embargo. They do that by decreasing their oil production, which raises the price of oil for Americans.
Right.
And there are these long oil lines, there are oil rations, gas stations shut down, and Henry Kissinger goes to Saudi Arabia in 1974 to strike a deal to end the oil embargo. And this deal is struck, the terms of that deal the first being that Saudi Aramco, which was back then Aramco, was gradually to be turned over to Saudi Arabia. This was a decade-long process. And then the U.S. also pledged further military support and arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
I think we have a list of some more aspects of this deal, right? This is what you're talking about?
Yes. So if you ever wonder why the U.S. has been arming Saudi to the teeth, it comes from this deal. The original military support was a few $1 million, then it graduated to hundreds of millions of dollars, then to a few $1 billion. Now, Trump is funding the Saudis they're arming them at the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. And then on the Saudi side of the deal, Saudi agrees to only sell oil in U.S. dollars and gets OPEC to do the same thing. This is the birth of the petrodollar. So the petrodollar is basically a system where all countries in the world need a constant supply of dollars on hand to buy oil. It's the only currency that will buy oil, and it's that way to this day. And that, as we spoke about earlier, that once again creates a situation where every single country in the world needs U.S. dollars on hand.